Dina. Dina, are you online?
Hello, Victor. Yeah,
Hey,
all set to go. How are you?
I am doing good. It's nice and sunny in Calgary. Nice day to stay in, right? We
Yes,
should
it is.
be out
Yes,
there,
it
but
is.
it's all good. Well, Dina, take it away. I always promote Dina as the bot framework guy. I mean, although he does a million other things, every time I have a question or I'm looking for something in that environment, PVA, bot framework, I always look up what he does. It's always great stuff. So you're all in for a treat. So take it away, man.
No
It's
pressure, Victor.
the
No
show
pressure.
is yours.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks. That's one power pack session, Igor. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, Victor, and thank you so much for organizing and making me a part of this. This is amazing. We all know how hard it is to actually organize a session like this. And thank you for this. And thanks everyone for enthusiastic participation for sure. So without you folks, this is nothing actually. So just wanted to get on with the session here. So let me know when you're able to see my screen here. We'll kick this started. All right, so welcome to the session on Power Virtual Agents in Teams. So as advertised, so we're going to see the Power Virtual Agents, how you're going to have the authoring experience within Teams itself. So it's not something new. It's been there for a while now, but we have deeper integration in Teams. That is what is going to be very cool and very new that we are seeing right now. My name is Dhina. I primarily work on Power Platform and Azure. I get really excited whenever I hear or talk about AI and all the cool things that's happening all around the world these days, and all the tools and technologies that's actually making it possible for the common man to actually build something really cool, really powerful stuff, and enabling their applications with AI. That is something really fascinating, and that's exactly why I am here to talk about it. And yeah, you can reach me on any of these channels and available. If there are any questions that I cannot answer now, you definitely can we can connect and we can reach out for sure. Yeah. So yeah, so I just cheated a little bit here. If you notice, I striked out the word fun and added crazy there because this is actually a crazy news. It's believed to be around 2 million lakes in Canada. So if you think about Canada population, it is 38 million. That means you're talking 1 in 20 people, you have a lake. So that is, when you think about that kind of in that particular context, this is huge. So that's what blows my mind. The beauty of these lakes really can blow away any mind possible. So the number of lakes around, and I am fortunate to live in Calgary, and it's western part of Canada, and I'm surrounded by lakes. So that is where it is a beautiful place, definitely. And you can ask me, hey, Dina, what the heck? Like, where is the lake here? You're talking about lakes, and there is no lake here. Actually, you see the folks who are actually skating, they're actually skating on the lake. It's actually frozen, and that's how the lakes are in the December and January. And yeah, so I've seen some cars going on the lake. So that's how it is. Just something to put out there. It's
Pretty crazy. So essentially, you can own your own lake if you move to Canada.
I was about that. You stole my word, actually. I was about to
Oh,
have that as a
I'm
pun. I
sorry.
forgot. I actually forgot, but thanks for bringing that up. So 20 people can actually own a lake now. So that's good. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now moving on to, focus on the turning attention to the bots here. So some people call it conversational UI, and some people call it virtual assistants and virtual agents. Everything is the same. It's all chat bot at the end of the day. You are able to chat with a bot, with the remote, with a virtual person. That's exactly what it is, right? It's not a new concept. It's actually a very old concept. There are evidences where in 1950s, 1960s, people try to do something like this, and they with their tools, with that, in that era of tools and all those things, and what is possible out of the tools and techniques that was adopted during that time, it's coming back to the limelight. That's how I think we should put it. It's actually coming back to the limelight because of the tools and technologies that's available in our hands today, right? And thanks to this Power Platform, again, thanks to some of these tools that's enabled by this Power Platform, that is actually making it happen, which is like in our lifetime, which is really, really cool, and really fortunate to see these tools to This it's at the infancy. It's not like, it's not something which is like completely adult. It's definitely at its infancy, teen at its best. It's I would actually that's a stretch if I call it teen at this point. But we can really see the potential of where this is going to go. Even at its infancy, it's so powerful. It's so powerful when you put together things, lot of tools together and try to integrate a bunch of tools, then you are transforming the experience into something completely different, right? And that's exactly what excites exactly what excites me. And I'm pretty sure that's exciting news for most of us here today. So when we see the trend, how's the trend of these chatbots development? We see pretty much two trends here. One is employee facing and the other one is customer facing, as the name suggests here, right? So lot of these clients, like lot of the organizations, they are trying to roll out something more for their customers. We see all these things on their public website, right? So that is most of the bots are hosted in their public website. And we have a bot for pizza delivery, and we have a bot for bill payment, and we have support bots and all those things. And it'll also naturally escalate in case the bot is not able to answer. It naturally escalates the question to an actual support representative and so on. So that is something which is already available, but a lot of organizations are not really ready for that. That's exactly what, when I did my own research and found out that why there is still an adoption problem, is that first of all, there is an awareness issue. Number one, like all these tools that are even available, some of the organizations don't even know that. That's actually a sad story. I think part of it is more awareness for sure. And then the other portion of it is more like they're not ready to actually expose something this huge, to try something very new, brand new in front of their customer. And what if they fail, right? And how will their customers perceive it? There is a lot of open questions, and also adding the money, adding the cost to the mix, it makes the things even more confusing and even more problematic to sell it to their leadership team. And how we are going to, what if we fail, and should we fail fast, and what will happen if I fail in front of my customer, and so on. So answer to all these questions is simple, actually speaking. Try it with the internal customers who are nothing but your employees, right? That's the whole idea here. I've noticed that when I speak with some of the organizations, some of my friends who are working with other organizations, they actually mention that they are trying out some employee facing bot. They are trying to actually say, based on intranet, they have their own intranet, and then they host this HR bot, and then it's actually answering all the questions. And there are some bots that are actually reducing some of the IT support desk related queries and frequently asked questions, and some payroll related frequently asked requests, and some of the very predictable conversations that they are having within the team. So they're kind of empowering some kind of a bot which is actually doing all those things, right? So this is a real story that's happening. So this way the organizations can learn better from the employees. They get real feedback. They don't get some kind of a feedback which is much more opaque. This is much more transparent feedback they can gain directly from the employees. Talk to them and then find out what are the bottlenecks are, and see and fix it before they can roll out to their actual customers. Basically, learn your lessons, and then build a bot which will actually much more scale better, which will work better for your customers, right? That's the whole idea. They want to test the waters with the employee facing bots before they go for the customer, right? For the real customer. So when you talk about all these things, we cannot ignore teams these days. That's the fact right now, because teams has had a tremendous year so far, and it's evolving rapidly, and the adoption has been just mind-blowing, just off the charts, right? And this is teams has this inherent communication capability that allows for a natural fit for the chatbots, right? Because if you can talk to the actual person, why can't you talk to your bot, a bot that is actually hosted by your own organization? That's the whole idea of the teams, right? It's all communication at the end of the day. And some of the organizations, if you look at it from a different perspective, operating system is teams, right? Everything is available, like files and all those sharing related information, everything is available. So it's just a matter of it's just the information consumption part. It's just not communication. It's much more than communication these days, right? So that is teams. And when you put together these two things to, together, something magical happens, right? Here is my controversial thought, however you wanted to perceive it. So I actually wanted to I actually feel that every person in an organization should clone themselves as a bot and empower the bot with their own specific knowledge. So I'm sure everybody had a situation where some of the team members or some of the external team members will actually, ask some questions again and again, right? It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It has been happening all over the place, right? We cannot escape that. It's always gonna be like that. So why can't we create a bot, clone ourselves with some specific knowledge so that people can actually go to the bot first to ask the questions before reaching out to you. So everybody should create their own bot. That's my thought, actually, just to empower that in a way that it answers your questions rather than you actually spending time together and when you do the important things that your daytime, whatever that you have to do, right? That's more like, so when you combine these two things, this is where the magical thing happens, right? So what is how do we create these chatbots is a big question, right? So we are talking about chatbots, we're talking about how the tools and technologies enable all these things, and also I'm pretty sure you heard all these power virtual agents many times in the sessions today, right? So this is our portion of the demo. We are going to see some demos on the power virtual agents and see how it can enable us to build the chatbots very fast, right? That's the whole idea here. And this Power Virtual Agent also has grown rapidly in the last couple of days. Right? Here is Microsoft's goals as to what the Power Virtual Agents has to do. The Power Virtual Agent should allow the customers or employees, right, to engage naturally. It should not be a situation where the person who's interacting with a bot would actually ask questions in a way that is much more cryptic, much more, like a source code, nothing like that. They should ask the questions very naturally. They should engage very naturally, right? So the back end of the Power Virtual Agent is very sophisticated. It taps onto the bot framework. The bot framework is very sophisticated, and in turn, it can tap into the entire Azure services, right? It can tap into the Lewis, it can tap into the Q&A maker. Just a lot's going on in the backend. This Power Virtual Agent abstracts those all services in the face of the customer and the employee and just allow them to interact naturally, right? And the other goal is to democratize the AI, right? Without this, we're not going anywhere. We cannot just move anywhere without this. It has to be democratized. It has to be sold at a price that is much more interesting for everyone. Like when I say price, it's not about the price of the service. It's about the entire organization's price that they're paying to actually host the bot, right? It's not hiring, sophisticated research team. It's not hiring a bunch of PhD folks to actually work on the natural language ability, capability, and all those things. Those are the price they're actually paying if they bring in all those people, right? So how do we democratize in a way that is anybody can build a chatbot and anybody can consume the chatbot very easily, right? So that is what we're talking about democratizing here. And then you're talking about also continuously improving it, right? So how will the chatbot will tell the person, the chatbot creator, that, hey, you know what? You have not asked me to respond to these questions, but looks like the people who are interacting with you are actually looking for these questions. So the bot should be capable of bringing those up, right? That is very important. Otherwise, nobody is going to continuously improve with these bots, right? How will the bot creator will know all these things? So that is very important. And add that with all the analytics the bot is actually going to provide, backed by Power BI again, right? So those are the analytics the bot creator is going to actually consume and find out how many conversations are getting dropped and what is my engagement rate and how can I improve and what are my build sessions and how am I leaking anywhere from the cost perspective and things like that, right? Like a 360-degree of all the things happening with the bots, because obviously bot is actually interfacing the actual customers, actual employees, right? There is no way for the creator to understand it. So without these analytics tools, it's going to be very, very hard for anybody to do it. But fortunately, Power Virtual Agents provides that kind of capability to take it further, right? And finally, last but not least, is the actually taking the action, right? Bot itself is not intelligent. let's be honest, right? Unless until you kind of integrate with other services, bot actually is not going to be very useful, right? Like you're going to talk to a system where, for creating a case, if a customer is actually looking to create a service request, right? So the service request itself, where does it store? It has to be stored in somewhere in kind of a, Dynamics 365 or your SQL server, somewhere like that. Or if your customer is actually looking to, or your employee looking for a leave balance, like vacation balance or something, the system, the backend system could be completely different. But then the bot should be able to tap into the backend system to pick those information and push it to the user. Otherwise, then who's going to use bot, right? So this is where the native integration with the Power Automate, it's actually going to help us with this one. So there is nothing like we are going to call an API or anything like that. It's just a click of a button, just invoke a Power Automate and then set up the Power Automate in a way that it actually goes and integrates with those backend system to pull that information and provide it to the end user. So without this, anything is useless these days. So these are the 4 goals Microsoft has in order to actually promote these bots and build the bots even, right? So when we talk about these things, here are some of the features, and this rapidly grew when it actually started. Like I think last year, I believe with the Dynamics 365 customer service agent or something like that, and then they kind of rebranded it to Power Virtual Agent. So it's pretty cool to see all these new features that got added, release over release, untiring. It's just absolutely mind blowing. Like what all things they actually can add on top of these for the Power Virtual Agents. So analytics, so topic suggestion, like it has to suggest some topics as to what the end users are looking for. And there is authentication support. That is something that newly arrived last year. So that is something where it will allow the customers to automatically authenticate so that it actually goes and picks the right information specific for the customer. And you can set up fallback topic if nothing works. So here is my default topic. It's going to actually pick and serve the customers with. Teams integration, that is something that's going to be a hero of our session today that we are going to talk about more. So bot, you can actually publish the bots to many channels default, right? So Teams and all those other social media channels also available for us to publish. So that is one. I think I see one that is missing here is Facebook Messenger. That's also available. So where it all fits in the ecosystem, right? So here is where the Power Virtual Agent sits from the ecosystem perspective. So you have Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate. It sits equally there, but it leverages everything. So obviously, the Power Virtual Agent connects to Power Automate, integrates with that very naturally. Otherwise, the bot is not going to be useful. So Power Virtual Agent can be embedded within the Power Apps. Otherwise, bots is not going to be useful. So Power Virtual Agent taps onto the Power BI for analytics. Otherwise, bot is not going to be useful. So it kind of every other service is actually supporting. It feels natural why Power Virtual Agent is added last in this ecosystem, in this family. Because without these things, these main other 3 pillars, the Power Virtual Agent is just not useful, right? And then all the common data service or Dataverse, whatever. So it's all going to support these pillars together to make it much more useful for the years to come, right? That's where it is. And from the overall architecture point of view, this is where on a very, very, very high level, in a nutshell, this is where it sits. So you have Azure, and then on top of it, we have the bot framework on the Power Platform. And then the Power Virtual Agent sits on top of bot. It leverages the juice of the bot framework. So bot framework is what is actually powering the Power Virtual Agents, right? So bot framework was released, I think, in 2015. And even for the 1.0 version of bot framework, it had really cool stuff. And then Power Virtual Agent took like 3 years to actually come and sit on top of bot framework. So still, even today, there is a feature parity, even though it's built on top of the bot framework. There is a feature parity, and Microsoft is closely, like kind of closing down that gap very, very, very in a short time period. So that's what we are seeing so far. So all the cool stuff that was once part of the bot framework slowly making its way into the Power Virtual Agents these days. So previously, Power Virtual Agent did not have language ability. It did not have the skills capability. It did not have the authentication capability. But if you see that those gaps are actually getting closed very, 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 very far in a faster manner these days. So this is where it stacks up in the entire Microsoft ecosystem there. So let's actually dive into the demo. Let's actually see some of the basic Power Virtual Agent and also how we can see it within the teams itself. Let's take a look at it. So what I've done here is that I just logged in Teams in a browser here, just not interrupt that what we are doing right now. So Power Virtual Agent can be accessed as an app, right? You just add a probably go to more apps, and then Power Virtual Agent, like at any other app, just click on that. You will have an option to add, but I've already added it, so you have an option to open. So I'm just opening it right now, and if you want, you can pin the Power Virtual Agents like how I pinned it here within this one here. So if you notice it here, whatever I'm going to show today, hopefully, I will never go out of this Teams. So I will do everything within Teams itself. That is what this deeper integration really means. And the fun part is that anybody can create these chatbots if you have a Teams license. So only thing what I found is that your organization should check a box saying that, yeah, this guy can actually go and see the Power Virtual Agent. Otherwise, everybody with a Teams license, you will be able to see and create the bots and consume the bots for free, right? Team license what you need at this point in time. And all the sessions that you're accumulating when interacting with the bot, I don't think those are actually getting even counted in the build sessions. So that is something again to keep a note there, right? So these all things are tightly integrated with Teams, and then it's available within the Teams license at this point in time. Now, getting into the chatbot is pretty straightforward. You are here. When you're actually adding the Power Virtual Agents within the Teams, you'll see a Start Now button. Just click on it, and you'll be able to provide a name. I just created two teams channel here, two teams here. So it shows both of my teams. I'm going to pick Maple Power team here, and then just going to say, this is where the bot is going to be created, right? So when I say I'm creating a bot within these teams, so anybody from my team would be able to easily add it, right? They would be able to see it in the App Store, like how we saw how we picked the Power Virtual Agents. So they'll be able to see it and add it very easily. Now, when you click on this continue, it should ask us about the bot name and the languages and so on. Let's actually give a name. So let's actually create a HR bot, a human resource bot or something, just for checking the leave balance, or if I'm requesting for an employment letter and things like that. Let's actually create a bot for it. So as you can see, there are like so many other languages that are supported here as well, and there are some preview languages, but some languages that are automatically supported. I'm picking this one at this point and clicking on create. So the very first time you are actually adding a Power Virtual Agents to your teams, it's going to take a while because it's going to set up a whole bunch of infrastructure in the backend. When I say take a while, it's in minutes. It's in under 5 minutes for sure. So when you create a first bot, it's not going to be a lot. Just going to be it's going to be fine. Let's actually wait for it. Hopefully I did not lie. There you go. So we're already here in the chat bots. So here is a chat bot. Automatically, it's all provisioned. It's all ready to go. We can just get into it right away. So isn't that cool? Like you just create a couple of buttons and you already have a bot here. That itself is kind of cool for me at this point in time. So now we have here, if you notice all these other things, here are the different sections. We have topics. So topics, think about topics for the people who are new to the Power Virtual Agents. Again, topics are much more like various scenarios that your customers are going to reach out to the bot. For example, knowing the vacation balance, or paying the bill, or finding probably a frequently answered question, like knowing some of the answers for the commonly asked question, things like that, right? Those are the different scenarios. And entities, I'll touch on these entities slightly later, because if I show you an example, you'll be able to understand what I'm talking here. And analytics is what I mentioned about the actual sessions, and understanding the engagement rate, understanding the resolution rate, and all the escalation rate. If the user is abandoning the bot session conversation, that's also will show up. All the CSAT, customer satisfaction score, and all those things. And finally, we have this publish button. Once you're done with building the bot, you're going to hit this button, publish. It's published. It's live. You're done. You've created a bot, and it's available for your teams to actually consume it from then on. That's all good to go. Now, there are other things here, managing the details of the bot, channel security skills. The security and skills are mostly advanced. I just don't intend to go into it at this point in time. But feel free to connect with me in case you wanted in case you have any question or anything. I can definitely answer those things, or at least I hope to answer those things here. And then details is where you actually manage the name, and you can change the icon and so on. I'll show you other place where you can manage the details as well. And as you can see right in the center, you have an ability to test the bot itself before publishing it. So that's also available. I'm just going to hide the bot for now just to avoid any distraction at this point. Now going back to the topics. So you can see this is split into two different sections. Number one, system topics. System topics are kind of, think of it as the out-of-the-box entities in Dynamics 365 Power Apps, right? So common data service. So it's very similar, right? These are the system topics that's available for you. Very commonly used ones, very reusable type of thing. When somebody greets the bot, how the bot should behave, what the bot's response should be. That's what the system topics usually contain. So greeting is part of system topics. Conversation ending is part of system topics, which will be reused across many across many other scenarios. And what should the bot respond when somebody says bye to the bot? What should bot respond when somebody says thank you to the bot? And those all things are very, very kind of reusable and out of the box. And you can feel free to always change it if you think the out of the box bot doesn't suit your brand or suit your verbiages and parlance. You can definitely change it. There is nothing stopping us. There is nothing like we cannot change or anything. We can definitely go and do it. So let's actually see a few examples before we create our own topics here for our HR bot. So here are the different, like Microsoft. There's actually a very good thing here how they have done it. Like they said, lesson one, simple topic. If somebody is new to these chatbots, the Power Virtual Agents, they can actually see how they actually can train themselves by following these things. Obviously, the one is going to be much more simpler than the 2 and 3, 4, and things like that. So it's arranged accordingly. So a simple topic, here is one of the scenarios. When are you closed? When are you open? Like store hours is possibly the topic here, right? And when you go to the authoring canvas here, the trigger phrases, these are the trigger phrases the bot is expecting from the customers. Again, when we saw the goal from Microsoft naturally engaging the users aren't, they will not know all these things, right? That they have to really type these sentences in order to get the answer from the bot, right? They can miss certain things here. That's not the problem at all. The intent is very important, right? The actual statements are not important. The intent is very important. So this is where the Power Virtual Agents actually it's actually leveraging the bot framework's capability in order to understand the intent of the user before serving them back, right? That's very important. They don't have to type the exact same statement at all here. That's not the intention at all. Now the bot can respond back saying, here's the message. And then finally it can say the hours of this particular store. Redmond store is this and Seattle store is this, right? As simple as that. Very, very simple conversation here. 2 minutes, the topic is done, right? So again, if you go a little more complicated here, we have something like trigger phrases. Are there any other stores around this area, right? These are the trigger phrases. If the bot sees this type of intention, then bot is going to actually message back saying that I'll be glad to help find a store near you. And then the bot also can ask other questions, right? The user did not provide these as part of their question already. The bot can actually ask about which store are you talking about, which location are you interested in? Are you talking about Redmond, Seattle, Kirkland, things like that, right? And bot also has the capability to store the user's response as part of the variable itself. Why? Because ultimately we can actually pass this variable to Power Automate, right? And then Power Automate could actually tap into the Power Apps to unearth the store location information, more information about the store location, and then show it back to the user. That's the whole idea of this variable, to store the information and then pass it back to other applications through Power Automate, right? And as you can see, based on the conditions, you could actually say that here is a message for this particular store, and here is a message for this particular location, and things like that, right? So you have various conditions, what should be shown. You can also show a single message regardless of the conditions as well. That's also possible. And finally, we are saying end of conversation. We're good to go. So That's slightly how do we say? Should we say complicated? I don't think this is complicated. This is more like finding a conditions and then like showing the message and ending the conversation here. So before we go further on these things, I'd probably, once you can create a trial for yourself and go through these things, it's going to be slightly complicated because there is a lot going on with this particular topic here, like buying an items, buying a product. If somebody says these things, it's bot is going to ask additional questions, and then based on these conditions, it's going to invoke other questions, right, or other condition and so on. There is a lot of lines going on here, so check it out, and I think you should be able to easily follow it once you understand the pattern, what's going on here. There is basically a message, there is condition here, there's nothing else happening at the end of the day here, and finally ending the conversation, right? So let's actually create something, and then there is one thing which I want to highlight, which probably may take a little bit time, so I'm going to do that right away, is something like I'm going to say suggest topics here. And what if I have a frequently asked questions as part of a website, right? Let's actually try something. So human resource FAQ, let's try this, right? There is a University of Waterloo frequently asked question human resources here. Let's actually see what we could do here, right? So all these things here. Now, once you put the link here saying these are the frequently asked questions and click on add and then start, this bot is actually going to parse through the page and intelligently generate topics out of those frequently asked questions, right? So that anybody who actually ask this type of question, again, the question does not have to be the same thing, but this type of question, then it's going to pull out the answer for the user, right? That's exactly what the bot is going to do. It's going to getting all the suggestions from the website, and it's going to create automatically all the topics involved so that it can engage anybody whenever they have the same kind of frequently asked questions, so coming out of the users. So let it actually go past the information. It's not gonna take a long time. It's gonna quickly do that, but I'm not gonna wait for it. Let's create something right now while we're waiting for it anyways. So let's create two scenarios. So first one, let's say vacation balance, right? So here's HR bot. So let's do something kind of much more related to HR bots. So now enter a trigger phrase. What are the trigger phrase a bot can expect? What are the trigger phrase as a bot creator I can expect the employee to ask, right? I could say, what is my vacation balance? Can I know my vacation balance? I would like to find my vacation balance and so on. All you're doing is some kind of a queue here, right? So generally more questions the better. But here is the thing. So for Power Virtual Agents, you don't have to put more questions more than 5. Usually people say that when you actually give these type of trigger phrases, like 5 to 10, but the parity is coming down. It's even lesser these days. If you put 5, most of the topics are going to be triggered very accurately these days. And that is because the backend bot framework and Loo is actually improving a lot. Usually people say go and add 20 or 10 or 15 or something. We don't even need 10 different trigger phrases based on your topic sometimes. So that is again a marvel that's happening these days with all the Lewis. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this Lewis here. So this is a language understanding intelligent services. So ultimately, Power Virtual Agent should be leveraging some sort of Lewis services in order to actually understand the intent of the user in order to serve the user better, right? So some type of services like this being engaged, and this is Microsoft offering again. So uh, things like that. So now going back to the authoring canvas here. Now this is where we can actually put in the message and saying, I can find it for you. I can find that out for you, right? Now what we could say is that at this point in time, we can actually engage a Power Automate, right? We could actually call a Power Automate, and the Power Automate can call say a Power Apps to find the vacation balance for this particular user and then respond back, right? That's exactly what you're going to do right now. So if you look at this particular Power, I already set up this Power Virtual Agents, the flow template here, so that it's much more easy for us to go through instead of wasting time there. So Power Virtual Agents flow template. If I click on this one here, and let's go here I'm going to save. So save. If I click on the view flow details, see how the Power Automate actually opens within the Teams itself, right? You're not taken anywhere outside. So let's give a moment for it to load and go straight into the Power Automate. Okay, so it's a very simple Power Automate that we created. I just hard coded saying that, say the leave balance is always 20, but ultimately this is where it's going to target some backend application in order to get the results vacation balance back. And then we are going to give it back to the Power Virtual Agents, right? So once this is set up here, and once we go back to this one, let's actually go back to our Power Virtual Agents. So here I can add a condition and say that select a variable, vacation balance response is shown as a variable here because Power Virtual Agents returning back that as a response. So you can say it's equal to, say it's greater than 15. You can actually show a message saying that vacation, your balance is, again, there is a variable available here, days. I wish I had these many days. Enjoy. If all other conditions, you're going to say your vacation balance is days, looks like we both have similar days. And finally, ending with survey, right? This is where you're talking about those reusable type of um, um, the system topics available for us here to pick from. And we could also say that, you know what, both the messages for both the conditions, I want the same response back. So save the information here. And again, the challenge is everything to do within the teams. That's where keeping up with that one. So going back to the test your bot, and let's say I want to know my vacation balance. Right? So it says the vacation balance is 20 days. I wish I had, that's pretty much it. What we just expected out of the bot here, right? So if you go back to the topics, I want to do one more here, slightly complicated, and then show it to you how it looks. So now request for letter, right? There are so many other letters we expect from HR team, right? Could be for, employment letter, could be for short-term disability letter or letter of professional standing, whatever, right? So I want to request for a letter, and then I want my employment letter. Things like that, right? Just put the trigger phrases. Now going back here, what we are trying to do is to actually send out a request to the HR team. So I have set up another teams here, HR team here. So we are going to somehow send a message from Flow to the HR team saying that this person wants the employment letter, is requesting for the employment letter, right? So I don't know why I left there. So let me just go back in. Topics, request for letter. All right. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to say, what is the letter type that you need, right? So we are going to give some multiple options here. So before that, I wanted to show something here. So let's say test. What I wanted to show is the power of entities. So what is this entities? Entities are something that is a natural grouping of a particular type of data. We are talking about age. So when you ask when you ask a person their age, they are not going to say 15. They're not going to say just 20 or something. They're going to say I am 20 years old or I am 15 years old. Example, right? And the same thing when you ask someone what city you live in, they'll give a different answer. They won't just give a single answer saying that a city that you can easily store in a variable, and then you can actually call a Power Automate passing that information. It's not going to happen like that, right? People are going to respond in a very elaborate way. And the bot should be intelligent enough to parse only the city information from that entire line. Otherwise, how do you store only the city in a variable to pass it on? You cannot store the entire line. You only want to store the city element in that line. You somehow want to parse the entity, the city details from it, right? So let's play with this. Let's actually say letter type, and let's say that we have many letter types. So employment letter, we have something called professional standing letter, short-term disability letter, right? These are different letter types we have. Let's see how this actually works with our topic now. So also you can add a synonym, because if somebody says yemp letter, or when somebody calls it a different way, so the bot is able to catch those information as well. So that's also available, right? So for now, just keep it simple with a letter type. I'm going back to the topic here. So request for letter. So um, here is the identify. Here, what I could do is I could actually give my manual choices for the user to pick from. What is the letter type? Or I could actually say, here are the letter types that I expect the users to pick from, right? So for the letter type equals this, then this, I really don't care about these type of, I don't want any conditions to happen here. All I wanted to actually store the letter type in a particular variable, right? I want to actually use this letter type somewhere. So I'm going to store this in a letter type variable. So that's available for me. And also I'm going to ask one more question just for the fun of it, saying, what is the purpose? Right? I'm going to say multiple choice option. This time I'm not using any entities. I'm saying work permit. This is the purpose of the letter that I'm asking for. They can say medical purpose. They can say for client visit, things like that, right? Now I can actually store this also in a variable. It'll all come together shortly. Again, work permit, medical purpose, client visit. I really don't care about specific types here, because I'm not going to act differently based on the purpose. All I want to do is I want to call an action. I wanted to pick a Power Automate that can actually respond to this request of the user looking for this employment letter. So send an adaptive card to see Teams channel is what I'm going to use. So let's actually save for, okay, before that, I have to actually um, pick some variables here. Let's pick it and then go and see how the Power Automate uses these variables. So user, if you notice here, there are two parameters, variables that's made available by the Power Virtual Agent itself. If you want to do anything sophisticated with the Power Automate with the user display name, or if you want to give a specific flavor to it, if you want to more give a personalized information back to the user, or send this information to the HR team, the PVA, the Power Virtual Agent, automatically throws these two variables, user display name and user ID. I'm going to use the user display name here. And then letter type, I'm going to say the letter type, whatever I captured, employment letter, or the short-term disability letter, and so on. And purpose is, again, the purpose variable here, right? I'm going to save right now. I'm going to show you how this one is constructed. So let's save. Okay, good. All right. So we have the Power Automate. So here is another template. There are two templates. One we saw already, which is the usual Power Automate type of template. This is slightly sophisticated template, actually speaking, from the measure of what Power Virtual Agents actually provide. So if you see this one, it takes three inputs: user, name of the user, just giving some descriptions here, letter type, and purpose, right? And then that's exactly what we did. We actually assigned the user display name to user, and then we assign the letter type, and we assign the purpose to it. And next, what we are doing is that once we gather all this information, we are actually creating an adaptive cards, right? You could set up adaptive cards yourself. It's actually super cool that we can actually author the adaptive cards super easily as well. You could actually, there is a way we could actually, if I get the link of that. Yeah, adaptivecards.io, right? You could actually author your own UI from this adaptive cards, and then you could actually paste that resultant schema into this particular message as well. So what we are doing here is super simple. We are just imagine you have created something with this adaptive. I wish I can actually show you that. I don't know if I have a link which directly can take me there. So rendering cards, getting started. Okay. I can actually share this later. So the whole point is that you don't have to worry about writing the schema yourself. Obviously, if you have to write the schema in 2020, nobody's going to do that. It's mostly you're going to have some kind of a UI to author it, copy paste the schema here, and good to go. And then request for a letter type, and then I'm injecting the purpose, injecting these variables here. And then what it's going to do is really cool. I'll show it to you shortly, how it actually submits the request to the HR team for them to take action on it. And there are the fork in the road here. The first thing it does actually is to submit the information. The second thing it does is to actually lead time to, I'm just hard coding the variable number 2, saying that here are the number of days it will take for the HR team to respond and so on. That's pretty much it. I'm storing it in a variable back. So going back to our Power Virtual Agents here, finally I can show a message saying that your request has been submitted. It will take, again, the variable is response days to complete, right? So save, and then let's test the bot. I want to request for a letter. Let's hope it actually triggers this one here. Okay, there you go. It asks what type of letter you need, right? I'm just typing employment letter. So now it actually goes to the next one. I'm saying work permit. Now your request has been submitted. It will take 2 days to complete. This information is coming back from the Power Automate. Now, if you go back to the teams, you will see that HR team received the request here because it's all configured within the Power Automate to say which team. I actually missed to show that. Actually, let me just go back to the Power Virtual Agents. I think I should have pinned here so that I can easily go, but looks like I have to each and every time I have to go inside like this now. So if you go into the topics and go into the request for letter, we would see that in the flow details, we would actually configure which team we want to send the information to. Here, team name, it makes available all the team names available, and then it actually what channel you want to post, and that is the reason you're able to see it within the teams here, right? You can see that within the teams here. It says Dhina Gaja needs your help, and let's go into the HR here. Here, request for employment letter, and then Dhina Gaja needs your help. Letters requested for the purpose of work permit, and so on, right? This all information has been taken from your from the Power Virtual Agents variables. Now, getting back to the Power Virtual Agents, I want to show you one other thing, why we set up that entities, why we took a pain in order to go into and then create that entity. I'll show you something cool here. Let's say that the user is actually asking for, I want to request for my employment letter. So if you see this particular topics, what we have done is that we have here, what type of letter you need. There is a question here. But if somebody types the word employment letter here, it automatically skips this question, right? That's the powerful thing. So that it doesn't keep asking the same question. It's intelligent enough to skip that question here. That is something good to know if you are trying to add a lot of entities like these, right? So once we are ready, this is where the Teams integration is going to come in, right? Once you're ready, now you can actually click on publish. So it is published for everybody to actually access now. So it's not available until unless the bot creator shares the bot. So when they click on share your bot, and then they can actually say add to teams here. It has the information, choose option bots built just for you and your team to use, right? It's not for anybody else. If you really want to, if let's say someone is interested in using your bot, but they are not actually part of your team, what you could do is you could actually copy the link and send it to them. They should be able to use it, use the bot themselves as well. And if you want to make your bot available org wide, you have to submit your bot for Teams admin approval. right? So that they can actually look at it and make the bot available for the entire organization. That's also available. So let's say you keep on adding new stuff to the bot and keep on configuring it and keep on publishing it. So it intelligently publishes only when the user is off the conversation. When the user is in the middle of, and let's say if some of your team members is actually using the bot, if they're in the middle of conversation, the publication isn't going to interrupt them at all. It's going to automatically stop the publishing to happen, and it'll only publish for that particular user once they are off the conversation, or there is a idle time limit of 30 minutes. It'll automatically publish it after the user leaves the conversation and so on. So that's also available. And if you want to take if you want to take the bots completely offline because you're doing some maintenance activity, or if you're doing something completely different that you don't want to interrupt anybody if they're in something middle of something and they unnecessarily will get interrupted and things like that, it's better to communicate to them and disconnect the bot itself, and then work on the bot, make sure the issues are fixed, and then republish the bot again. That's also available. So now what's the discoverability here? How will the team members discover the bot? If you go back to this more apps and then click on this bot built for Dhina, you will see the bot here. Right now, I'm not seeing the bot here because what happens is that sometimes the teams actually caches the um, the information there, because of which it does not allow for the logged in user to see. Hopefully that issue is fixed. So until then, we probably have to log off and log back in or close the browser, whatever, right? So that the cache is actually the log of the teams and log back in, so that you have the bot available for you under this build for your organization. Here it'll say build for your colleagues. So there'll be another section called build for organization for the bots that are actually built and made available by the team's admin, approved by the team's admin. You'll see it. Now you can click on the chat bot, you can just click on add, and you'll be able to add the chat bot there for yourself. And then once you click on add, the bot is installed for your teams, and you could actually right click and say pin. So it's available. The bot greets you the very first time, and you can actually start conversation with the bots here, right? So that's pretty much it. So this is a deep integration. We did not do anything sophisticated. We did not take the manifest file. We did not add the ID. We didn't do anything at all. We just clicked on the publish, it just published. It feels like it's kind of made for this. It feels like the deeper integration is really coming alive here, right? So what I would like to, just to review what all things we were able to do, right? So we're able to create and author the bots within teams, right? Complete Power Virtual Agents experience. There is nothing which is like completely different or off the, from the online experience, is all available within the teams itself. And you're able to easily share the bot. So that's available again within the Power Virtual Agents, and then you can submit it for approval to the admin if you need, if the need is like that. And discoverability from the Teams App Store is again a big win, right? So people do not have to go to multiple places to find it. In case if you're not part of the teams, you have to share the bot with them. They should be able to actually access your bot without any problem, but they won't be able to edit your bot. If a particular person is outside of your team, they will not be able to edit the bot. They will be able to only view the bot and use the bot, right? So again, you can leverage some of the intelligent publishing functionality, right? So you don't have to wait for the user to everybody's off. You don't have to have that kind of a communication to make sure all the people are off. Can I publish now? Things like that. You don't have to worry about those things. Click a button, publish. The bot takes care of versioning within the teams itself so that it does not impact anybody who's already logged in. And then again, leverage the adaptive cards capability, which is like much more fun way, much more presentable way in order to show your bots to your team members or submit your request and so on. So some of the design practices, right? So teams has its own inherent capability. We want to respect those things as well. So your bot can be added to one-on-one conversation. You can mention the bot, that's also available. And you can add the bot in the group chat by just doing @mentioning. You can easily add the bot there so that the bot will also be part of your group chat. That's available also, and it can be part of your channel. So complete flexibility as to it takes advantage of all the teams conversational capabilities. One thing to keep in mind is that beware of sharing the sensitive data, because there could be others who are part of the same group the bot can be hosted in, right? So make sure the bot is not exposing some kind of a PI data, personally identifiable data, or confidential data, because bot may have access to those things, because the bot creator may have access to those things and things like that. Just make sure those things do not come up and be a blocker for your team there. And it is best suited for the short and quick interaction. So it's always the case for any chatbots and Teams. It's really true that you have to keep the conversation very short and quick. Otherwise, people are going to get bored and move on. The whole purpose of the bot is to keep the conversation flowing in much more smoother manner and show the welcome message. This is again a good hygiene that we probably have to take in whenever you're building a bot, that show some welcome messages to it. And as part of it, show what are the capabilities of the bot. Otherwise, the users are going to run blind as to what the bot is for. So avoid interrupting the user often. This is a very important thing because the bot is actually embedded within the Teams itself. So that doesn't mean we have all the rights in the world to keep interrupting the users, right? We just have to be very mindful of it. We need to structure the conversations. We need to design the entire experience to not avoid the users. Just because users are available, you just don't keep on notifying them and so on. That's again very, very important. Yeah, probably the close of the hour here. There are any quick questions, I can definitely jump in right now. Yeah, thank you for your time and attending the session. Hope you found this useful.
All right, thanks, Dina. I didn't see any particular question come up. I know there's one that's cost for the bot, and it's always a place of discussion. I think a lot of the customers they somewhat complain of the high value for PVA, but if there is a limitation number of topics, right, per license,
Yeah,
and you can pretty much offset the cost to manual processes that are being completed today. For example, somebody calls HR and say, like Mustafa posted here, can you tell me how many days I have left, vacation days I have left, or how many sick days I have available still, things like that. So I believe the cost is justifiable depending on the size of the company. We have a question that just came in from Philip Cole. Can you get input from adaptive cards forms and capture those and use them back within PVA?
yes. So when the HR actually clicks on the button, it can invoke other flows as it can invoke a Power Automate as well. There is a capability available. It requires a little bit more configuration and customizations for sure. It's not going to be like a straightforward integration like how you saw so far. There is a bit of all the events. When a new user is added, a bot can be triggered. There are so many flexible things that can happen behind the scene, which will actually integrate with all the teams events as well in order to respond to that particular event. The bot can actually take care of those things as well.
Awesome. I have placed Gina's contact information, both his LinkedIn and Twitter. You can reach out to him, connect, ask questions directly if you have any additional questions that wasn't covered on this presentation. And for any other bot framework related or PVA related questions, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to help you.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Just check it out. If you are someone new to this one, definitely check it out. It's amazing what it can do.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Gina.
Thank
Take
you, everyone.
care.
Thanks, Victor.
All right. So up next we got Vicky. Vicky, are you